waiting for hunting season? Ready to go? Got your arrows sharpened? Your bow tuned? You're such a pretty bird. Just wanted to share with you my bean field here before the season opens next weekend. Right here you can see kind of a line here where these are bigger and those aren't. That's where I was spraying the Jolt, the liquid fertilizer. It really seemed to work. It thickened this all up over here, made this look really nice. You can see it all the way down there. I got beans everywhere, but the deer are just clobbering them. They're eating them all off as fast as they grow. These are supposed to be them special beans that grow twice as fast, but there ain't much there anymore. There won't be any pods because it's not growing tall enough. And my Borascas look pretty good, except I overseeded too much again. I seem to do that every year. I put them down too thick. Borascas don't like to be thick. So that's why you see the yellowing and the browning in there. Some areas look okay. And then you look down this way here, you know, that's my fault. I overseed. I put too much seed down. And it's really hard with the Borascas because they're such tiny little seeds. So it's really hard to see what you're putting down. But otherwise, the field looks pretty good. I wanted to show you here. If you look at this cage right here, these are beans that have not been eaten because the deer can't get through the cage. And it looks like they've stuck their head down there and nipped off a few. But that's how tall these beans should be. So that's up to my, it's above my belly button. So that's probably well over 3 feet. I bet you that's, you know, not quite 4 feet compared to 8 inches or so, maybe 10 inches over here, you know, where they've been eating on them. So that's what the bean is supposed to look like, just so you know. It's nice to have cages. There's actually a tree in there, but it's nice to have cages like that so you can see that it's not what I did wrong here. This is what it's supposed to look like. The deer are just eating it that much. So I'm gonna pull my chips quick here and see what's on there before the hunting season. So the first part of our project, well, actually the first part of the project was to level all this out, and you saw some of that after I took the barn, or not the barn, after I took the old farmhouse down. I brought in a bunch of sand here and filled this all in. This is not graded that well. Once we get the grade boards up on the poles, then we'll be able to see where we're at, and we're going to put gravel on top of here and pack it down good, and then possibly next year concrete. But for right now, the first part of the project is to put batter boards up. So I used some of this old lumber from the old farmhouse, and I got some rods, and we put up the batter boards. Then you hang your strings, and if you look closely there, oh, I can't see it here on the screen, but right here somewhere is a piece of tape. There's a piece of tape there, and there's a piece of tape right here. So that is what they call the 3-4-5 method. So I did 6, 8, and 10, which is just doubling the 3, 4, and 5. So it's 6 feet up that side, 8 feet up this side right here in front of me to this piece of tape is 8 feet. So then diagonally across the two is going to give you 10 feet. And that's how you lay out your lines. And then that'll be perfectly square, okay? So now once you get this first corner, I knew where this string, this long string was going to be. I had staked that out because I wanted it to be at a certain angle to the old garage and the woods here, you know. So we staked that out, and that was our first line. So we had our first line in. So we had to make this second line here square to that. And that's what this 6, 8, and 10 was about, to make that square, okay? So once I got that square, then I came out here last night with the with my laser, because I can't see the laser during the day. For whatever reason, I can see it, you know, right up close to it, but I can't see it at a distance over on the other board over there. So I set up the laser and I came out here right around dark, 8 o'clock, somewhere around 8 o'clock. I came out here and I set up the laser and I shot this first string here with the laser and got it perfectly straight. I had the green line on my nail down there, the green line on my nail up here at this end, and then that gave me this other line. So that'll give me the square line all the way over to that other board over there. So I put in a nail here. And I went down over here and I put in a nail over there in that board. And that gave me my second square line, okay? So once I had that line square, and I already knew it was square because I did the 6, 8, and 10 method. So I already knew it was square, so it was perfect. I mean, I didn't move it at all. I bent the nail down there just a little bit, you know? So now I know I'm perfectly square. So then I came down here on this end and I ran this other line and I measured. I had to measure from that corner over there that we just squared up. So I had to measure from that corner. I pounded in a stake there and I measured off that stake down to this corner here, and this corner had to be 36 feet. Okay, that's the width of the building. It goes to the outer edge of the girts is 36 feet, and then your metal is on the outside of that yet. So 36 feet, and I started this string here, okay, the second string. Then I brought my laser over here, and I lined up, got this first line that we had put in. I got the laser perfectly straight on that line, and then I shot the line down to the other end down there, okay. And now I got 2 perfectly parallel lines and perfectly square corners. So after I did that, then I had to do the same thing. I had to pound a pole in right here in this corner, and I went down there and measured 54 feet and put that other line in, and then I measured 54 feet off of that corner down to that corner and put the line in over there, and then I checked those are perfectly square also. So I should be pretty good here. This came out pretty darn good. So now I went and I measured all my posts, where my posts are going to go, and I made a square there for the center of the post. And we got to get a drill and drill these all out and then start sinking the posts. So that'll be our next step, is go get something and go get a drill and drill these out and put the poles in. So if I haven't explained to you yet what this is going to look like, so right here you see these 2 squares. They are exactly 12 feet apart. That's going to be a 12-foot garage door, and then there's going to be another one right across it on that end. So the idea is that we can come off the road and come in and turn and drive right straight through the building with the camper, and then drive right back out the building, right out here over towards the garage, and then make a U-E and go out our driveway. Our driveway is right on the other side of that tree there by the log. You know, just make a big U-E and go right out that driveway to leave when we want to go somewhere. And that way the new camper is under a roof. There'll be plenty of room in there yet for the tractor, 4-wheelers, maybe a little shop in here, and that's it. That's as big as we can go, you know. So, and it'll also be 14 feet high. So from the concrete to the top of the garage, there will be 12, and then 2 feet above that are the trusses. So 14 feet at the truss line. And that should be it. So we'll get back to you when we get something for digging these poles and we start doing that project. So the plan was for the neighbor to come over and drill the holes for me today, but we got a little bit of rain now. Don't know if he'll be coming or not, but I came out here to take my strings down so they didn't get damaged, and looks like somebody already helped me take this one down. Probably the deer, you know, they've been running through here, so they probably got snagged up in it. So we'll get these down and out of the way in case he does show up. Yeah, it's actually broken half right in the middle there, so I'm assuming it was the deer. I know I'm not seeing any tracks right here. So I don't know what would have broke that. Why that would have broke. That's pretty tough string. But we'll get her tied back together, get her going here. Well, as you can see, we got a muddy mess here. So the neighbor came down, drilled the holes, and now I'm just going in with my little post hole digger because some of the sand falls back. It's, you know, if this were dirt it would probably be different, but it's like pure sand underneath there. So the sand just falls back in the hole, and we tried shoveling, you know, away and trying to help that from not falling in. But I still have to go in with the post hole digger and dig down so I get to my 4-foot depth. So I don't know if you'll be able to see in the hole. Okay, so he went down, his post hole goes beyond 4 feet, and then the sand falls back in there. So then, you know, I got to go in there and just dig out that little bit on the bottom. And I'm trying to get it done today because if it rains tonight again, then that'll pack that sand down a little bit down there. And then when I put the concrete on, it won't be putting it on soft sand, you know. So the other thing I wanted to show you is my my laser here. So we got the laser on over here. Okay. So what I did was I set this pole up. This is called a story pole. So I set this up back here where I want the top of my gravel to be level with this path going through the woods here. So that's where I set my grade. So the grade of the barn that will be at that point right there. And then I added 4 feet onto this pole here. I went up 4 feet. So as long as I'm a little deeper than 4 feet on these holes, I should be okay. So I'm probably about 1 inch or so deeper than the 4-foot mark. All right. So that's good. That's where I want to be, and that's where the poles are going to be. So I got five holes done here, and once I get over to that side, over there, the grade itself is lower. So when he went down, they're probably really close right where they are. I probably don't have to do a lot of digging on those because the grade is lower over there. So he went down, his thing goes down 4 feet. So I bet you he's probably at 4'6" or better over there, where right here we're just at 4 feet, you know. So I'm gonna work my way around here. I'm gonna dig out the rest of these holes and check each one, and I'll let you know how it turns out when I get done. So as I expected, these holes over here along this side, I barely had to dig. They were already to my number. Actually, they were about 6 inches below my number, which is good. That's good, because then, you know, the concrete's going to be 4 to 6 inches deep in the bottom of the hole. So that was all worked out good. The only ones that I really had to dig were these first 4 holes over here, which were a little shallow. So I had to dig those down. These 3 in the corner here, those all had stones in them. It's kind of weird how this is all pure sand under here, you know, and then you get over to that corner right there and it turns to gravel. So don't know why, but it'll be all right. We got it down deep enough, and we're good to go. So I smoothed out the bottom of all them holes and it kind of packed it down. So now hopefully if it continues to rain today, that'll pack that sand down in the bottom there, and then I'll pour my concrete on top of it tomorrow. So we're gonna get our strings back up so we can kind of check the holes and make sure they're all in line. That drill, you start out straight, and as you go down, it starts to tip, whichever way your bucket is, you know, it starts to tip a little bit. And so the holes aren't perfectly straight, so I might have to shave the sides a little bit, so the poles fit in there good. I gotta put the strings back up to check all of that. So we're gonna do that next, and then hopefully tomorrow we'll be pouring some concrete in here. All right, so it's finally drying up here a little bit today. It pretty much rained all day yesterday, so we got the holes drilled, and then I dug them down a little bit with my post hole digger to just get my depths correct. I checked them all with the laser. They're all good. And then that rain came, and that helped pack that little bit of loose stuff down in the bottom down there. And I packed it with a 2x4. I'll show you that in a little bit here. But I packed it in there, and then that rain yesterday, it rained pretty much all day yesterday, and that helped pack that sand down in the bottom of them holes. So today we're pouring the concrete. So this is 5,000 psi concrete. It's putting in about almost 6 inches in the bottom of that 12-inch hole we drilled. So this isn't real hard to do. You split your bag and then you add water. Now it calls for 4 pints. So it calls for 4 pints of water. And I determined that the 4 pints was a little bit dry. So I'm probably using about 5 pints. Because I want it to be a little soupy so that when I pour it down in the hole, it kind of flows into all the nooks and crannies. But all we're doing is just mixing it up in a wheelbarrow, which probably the hardest thing about this job right here is lifting them 60-pound bags of concrete. That's probably the hardest part of the whole job. I could have rented a mixer, and yeah, a mixer would probably make this go a little faster for mixing this up. But what do I have here? 20 holes or something like that? It's no big deal. We'll get her done today. Let them set up for a couple days. And then we'll get the poles put in. You want to make sure you scrape the bottom of your wheelbarrow real good. Get that all that dry stuff mixed in good. You can see I'm making it a little soupy because I want it to just pour in that hole decent. Alright, we'll go set you up by the hole over there and then we'll pour this in. Even moving it around with the wheelbarrow isn't that bad. Just the initial lifting those 60-pound bags is kind of a bugger. Then I just take this board I made here and go down there, try not to hit the sides of the hole, and then just tamper in a little bit so that she makes its way into every little nook and cranny down there. Now all this is it's basically a foundation for that post to sit on. So it's 5,000 psi, and you can buy the kit from Menards both ways. This is a Menards kit. I don't know if I said that before, but they sell a 14-inch concrete block that you can drop in the hole, which those are hard to do. And the other reason I didn't do that is the neighbor only had a 12-inch auger. So I went with the 12-inch auger and one bag of concrete in each hole. So that's how we're doing it, and that should work. The end result is the same, you know. So you got a nice hard foundation. Years ago, they used to take a big rock, you know, like the farmers years ago when they would put poles in, they'd dig the hole and they'd throw a rock down in there, and then they'd set the post on top of the rock. And what that did is it gave the moisture and stuff a place to go get away from the pole, basically. You should never put concrete up around the sides of the pole, okay? You want to set the pole on the concrete, not in it, okay? Basically, does that make sense? And that's a whole water issue. But up here, this is, like I said when we were digging this is all sand, you know? I mean, the further down you get, the more of a pure, I don't know if you can see that good, but the more of a pure sand you get, the further down you go. Up on top, it's kind of got a little clay mixed in it. It's a little more reddish color. And then once you get down there a ways, it's just like pure sand. There's even some spots I hit across the street there where it was like that white, perfectly white sand. And those are like veins, and when you're digging, it's just a vein of white sand in there. But so anyhow, that's what we're doing today. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more to do, and we'll be done. And then we'll let that set up a day or two, and then we'll get back out here and we'll start putting the poles in. So yesterday we started setting posts. I got 6 posts in yesterday. I wanted to get 7. I wanted to get the corner post in yet, and I failed in doing so. I ran into too many problems. I have a system set up now. I think it'll go a little faster now that I know what I'm doing, but the first 2 posts took way too long, and the reason being is they want you to put these, they call them anchor blocks. They go down on the bottom of the pole, right? So all it is a 2x8, and you wrap the pole at the bottom with the 2x8, and that's supposed to help hold the pole in the ground. That's basically all it does. You're sitting on the concrete and then that we poured, and then that anchor block is supposed to help hold the pole down for wind lift or whatever. So we made the holes 12 inches. The neighbor, his auger was only 12 inches, and I thought that would be fine, you know, but when you have the pole itself is 6, so then 12, that gives you 3 inches per side. You know, you can move the pole around a little bit, but now you put them anchor blocks on there, you lose 3 inches. So now you only got 1.5 inches per side. And if the hole is a little bit crooked, you know, because you hit a rock or whatever, so it was just miserable trying to get them first 2 poles in place. So I bailed on the anchor blocks for the next 3 poles. I didn't use the anchor blocks, and they went right in. I had no issues. So then I got down here to the 6th pole, and that's where we hit a rock drilling. So the hole was off by 6 inches. So I had to move the hole. I had to dig it by hand, move the hole, and then I tried actually setting the pole. It was a big rock down in there. I tried setting the pole right on the rock, and the issue I was having was as I was trying to move the pole to get it in position, it would slip off that rock, you know. So I ended up digging a little hole next to it and putting another rock in there. So it's sitting on top of the rocks, you know. And that's all you can do. I mean, it is what it is, you know. Unless you're gonna bring in big equipment and stuff that's you know, or dig a giant hole, that's all you can do. So we got them in. We got 6 of them in. I was a little worried that they were, because they looked like they were, you know, bending, just laying on the blocks that I had them laying on, and I had them still in the bundle that they came in. But it's deceiving, I think, because once I got them up, all except for, I think the 5th one there is a little crooked. The rest of them look halfway straight. So, you know, we'll have to see once we get the trusses up there, you know, whether or not how straight they really are. So we're gonna continue here. I gotta snip a branch off there. That branch is in my way. I gotta snip that off, and then we're gonna start with that corner pole, and I'm gonna show you my method of putting these poles in. And don't laugh at me. I'm using the equipment I got here, which is basically me, myself, and the tractor. And we're gonna get the poles in, and hopefully I got an appointment today, so I probably won't get these all done, but if I could get part of this other side set in, maybe they'll go better. We didn't hit any rocks on this side over here, so hopefully the holes are pretty straight, and I won't have that big of an issue getting them in. So basically what I'm doing here is I screwed a block onto the pole here to take up this gap, because my bucket only tipped so far. So then we're ratchet strapping it in. So the trick, excuse me, the trick here is trying to get this strap tight enough that when you lift the pole, that the minute it moves, like I had one flip on me yesterday, the minute I hit a bump, you know, the strap came loose and the whole pole started swinging on me. So the trick is to try and get that as good on there as possible, that the pole isn't going to move. just like that. Now these straps have a 3,000 pound rating on them, so they're plenty strong to lift something like this. The problem is the balancing. Once you get it up in the air, you're way top heavy compared to the bottom. So it does want to swing on you a little bit. So we're gonna go over there and try setting this in the hole. That's how I've been getting them in there. Now the trick is, and boy, this one looks like it's going to be so once you get the post in the hole, you can see how bad the hole is. Without the post in there, it doesn't really show up that well, but I'm off quite a bit. I gotta cut this whole corner out so I can get that pole shoved in there. So I'm gonna pull it back out. I'm gonna dig this out quick. So like I said earlier in the video, these last 3 holes here on the corner here, we hit rocks. So that made the drill kind of veer off. When it hits a rock, it wants to go at an angle. So that's why we have this. Yeah, right there's the big rock. So the problem with the sand versus clay or rock, one it's easier drilling. We drill these like nothing. But the problem is the minute you bump the side of the whole thing just starts caving in. So you get a lot of sand down in there that you don't want on the bottom. But I got it scraped down to the concrete now again, and we're gonna try and set the post in and get it over into that corner as far as we can. My biggest problem is I can't see this angle when I'm sitting on the tractor. It's hard to tell that I'm tilted one way or the other. But it's in there straight now, fairly straight. So we're going to take off the strap, and then we have to rotate it to get it to the right angle. And that's what this chain is doing on here. This chain is on here, so when I take this strap off, the pole can't come at me. Now we're going to take our log turner and see if we can turn this. Chain's a little tight. So our next step, I'm going to back this camera up a little bit so you can see better. Next step is to get our batter boards, or our angle boards on here to hold this straight. All right, I got the angled boards. My brace is in place. Nothing's level yet. It's just to hold the pole right now. So we're going to remove the chain. Now the other thing I'd like to stress is I know back, I think it was during COVID, I told you guys what I all did for a career and everything. So I've been doing rigging for years. Now granted, you know, back in the steel mill we had all kinds of equipment, overhead cranes, whatever you needed, it was there to rig something up and lift it. But I have the experience. I don't have all the equipment I should probably have, but this is a one-time project. I'm never gonna probably do another barn, you know. My main concern is that you make sure you know what your straps and your chains are rated for, okay? So these straps are 3,000 pounds. I believe them chains are even heavier than that. So like when you're hauling a load, okay, so my tractor weighs 6,000 pounds roughly, all right? Each strap or each chain is supposed to be able to hold at least half of that weight, okay? So then you put 4 or 5 chains on there, that tractor ain't going anywhere, you know? I see these guys taking these tractors and putting them on little utility trailers. That utility trailer, number one, isn't rated for that weight. There's no way that utility trailer is made to hold that weight. So you got to know what you're hauling. You got to know the weight of the stuff. You know, these poles are only a couple hundred pounds, so a 3,000 pound strap is going to hold it fine. So that's all I want to stress. And if you're not comfortable doing this type of work, then don't do it. Go hire somebody to do it. You know, just like, you know, my busted windshield. I don't know how to change a windshield. I hired somebody to do it, right? So we got a guy coming today to put a new windshield in the truck. It's the same thing with doing a pole barn. If you're not comfortable doing this, you're afraid of heights, you're not used to working with chains and binders and that type of stuff, then stay away from it. Hire somebody to do it. It's part of the cost of doing business, you know. So I built a barn back in the 80s when I was in my mid-20s, and I had no issues with it at all, but it was only an 8-foot high barn. It was basically like a garage, a 3-car garage, but it was a pole barn. And I had no issues with it. I lifted the poles in the holes by myself, you know, just grabbing onto them and putting them in the pole. Obviously at 63 years old, I'm not going to do that. That's why I'm using the tractor. Plus these are 20-foot poles now. So the 20 foot has made them quite a bit heavier. So it's a little bit of work, you know, moving these poles around, trying to get them in position. But we're getting it. It's pretty darn straight right now, so hopefully when we get the trusses up and stuff, that'll go pretty good, because we got the poles in halfway straight, you know. So all right, I got to get my level on here, and then we just move it around a little bit until we like where it's at. So because these poles are not perfectly straight, I am leveling this bottom section, and as long as I have that level, whatever happens at the top, we're going to have to deal with that later when we put the trusses on. So the other thing we have to check is this post has to be 1.5 inches away from each string, and I can see that it's a little crooked yet, so I'm going to turn it some more. Right now, I've got about a quarter inch gap here, and I need to push the bottom of that pole over. So I have this kicker board that is going to go down in here, and that keeps me from knocking all the sand off the side of the hole. And then I go down here with this big pry bar, and I just give it a nudge. Okay, that side's almost perfect. This side, we need to go that way, so that's going to help us. Alright, I'm going to kick the bottom that way a little bit. Ooh, that's almost perfect. I moved a little bit. When I moved the bottom of this pole over that way, now I lost my dimension this way a little bit. She's in there. So I'm going to move you closer so I can show you this up close, the bubble level and the strings. I'm hoping you can see this. Both my bubbles are in the center, and then this board is supposed to go right in there. So I'm off just a little bit on this one. And that one, the back one, is almost perfect. So I'm calling her good. We're leaving her right there. And you can see right here how I am right into the corner of that hole. And that's how crooked our holes got because of these rocks and stuff. I'm hoping when I get to the other side over there, I'm not going to have that issue. So now all I got to do is throw some sand in there and pack her in. So seeing I want to kick, I need to kick this side a little bit. We're going to throw the sand in there and pack that side only. And that'll help push that over, or at least make that side. So what I've been doing is I'm doing little layers, a couple inches at a time, and packing her in good. And then I douse it with water. So I'm gonna go get some water. So basically what the sand does, or what the water does, is it washes that sand down into every nook and cranny and packs it in there, just like the sand at the ocean or the Lake Michigan beach. You can walk right along the water there and it's like concrete. You walk in 100 feet where it's all sand and you can hardly walk because the sand is all soft. So this water helps, you know, pack that sand down in there. So I just do a little shot of water, just enough to get it wet. And then I pack it some more, right where I need it to be packed. And then the rest of the sand, the loose stuff, will flow into every little nook and cranny as that water settles out. And now I just fill her up some more, a couple more inches. Pretty much until I don't see any water. And then I continue to pack. Give it another shot of water. Pack it some more. You especially want to pack it on the two sides where you don't want the pole to move, if it's going to move. So you want to make sure those two sides are tight. And then the back two sides will fill in on their own. I think we'll throw a couple more rocks in there. Get rid of these. Now once I'm done here and I have this all packed in, that pole will not move at all. So one last thing I want to check is my string. 54 feet, right on the money. So nothing's moved. So we should be good to go. So So this is the way I leave it now and let it sit and let that all soak in, and then I pack it a little more after it dries up. So one of the products I've seen for setting posts, it's called, here comes the window guy, it's called K2. Now I've never used it, so I can't comment on how good it works, but I see a lot of guys that do these pole barns, they use it, and it's like a bag, you mix it up, and then it's expanding foam that sets in there instead of the sand. But seeing we got this sand here, this sand packs like concrete. Those poles aren't going anywhere. They're solid right now, just from sitting overnight. So this is the way I'm doing it. But look it up, it's called K2. It's gonna add a lot of cost because it's not cheap. It's gonna you got 20 poles here, so it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna cost a little bit. So I got 13 more to go. I'll get back to you. So what have we accomplished? We got all the poles in, except for these three on the front wall here. I'm gonna leave those poles out because I think that'll help me get the trusses in. And then we can just drive the tractor right down the middle if we have to. My next project is going to be the grade board, and I got the laser set up. I'm going to get started on that right now, but that's going to be for the next video. So I hope you like these videos. If you do, give me a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe and keep watching, because at some point I'm going to have to get help here. I was able to do the poles myself. I'll be able to do the grade board and the purlins myself. I don't know if I'll be able to do the trusses myself. I'll probably need to get some guys over here to help me with the trusses for sure. And when we put the roof metal on, I'll need people here. So for right now, that's it for this video. So keep watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.